This video is going to be about feeding dogs and how to avoid resource guarding and how to support your dogs, because dogs that are doing resource guarding are dogs that are insecure, and it's not comfortable for the dog any more than it is for the owner to experience. So we're going to talk about that, and these two dogs are prime for this because one of them is challenging, and you'll see what I mean. This is Blush. Blush is the mom of the most recent, the Blush Bonavento pups. Blush is a cute little dog. She is beguiling and she knows it. She's also a little bit sneaky. She's 85 pounds or so, dripping wet, and she is in charge of this field. It's pretty cute the way that she manages her life here. Up there we have Yeti. And Yeti I've talked about before. I refer to him very lovingly as Yeti the bad dog some of the time. He was a very challenging dog to raise. He came to me through our rescue. He was a singleton puppy, so he didn't have bite inhibition, and he bit his owner and drew blood pretty significantly when he was 12 weeks old. And she thought that maybe he should live somewhere else, and she was right. And that's a different story that I've told before that I'm sure you can find. Yeti is a cream puff. Yeti is about 140 pounds of kindness. He's kind of spring-loaded. There's still a fair amount of Tigger in this boy. Yeti is what I refer to, my own term, as a resource warrior, and that is that he's very insecure about food. Food is really important to him. He's never had to give up his food to an animal or a dog that I'm aware of, but from the very, very beginning, he just has a lot of energy. If I put a food bowl down or he knows I'm coming in the gate with food, he starts to just bounce and quiver and be very excited. And I'd like to think that some of that is because he's happy to see me, but part of it is because the sight of the food showing up creates anxiety for Yeti. So it's really important to him and to me that he be able to relax and eat. I've worked really, really hard to teach this dog to relax and eat. So a dog that is worried about resources should never, in my opinion, be scolded, because the dog is insecure in the first place. That's why he's doing what he's doing. So I don't ever get after Yeti, but I redirect him. And I do it very softly, and I redirect Blush, and I can point for Yeti and tell him where I want him to go. When I can finally get him to relax, he oftentimes will lie down with his legs on either side of the bowl, and you can see him do this sigh, like, okay, I'm all right now, I can settle down and I can eat my dinner. And that's what he's entitled to. He's entitled to a nice quiet meal. Blush is sneaky. Blush likes to push his buttons, and she will walk around the edges a little bit and look at him, and he can feel her with his back turned. And so sometimes I have to stand out between those bowls and tell her to go back, or tell him to go back, or whatever. Sometimes they'll go for weeks and not have any issue with each other, and then sometimes she'll just kind of squirm around and mess with him, and when that happens, I either stand in the middle of the bowls, or I stand near the gate, or I sit in my Kubota where I can see them, so I can tell Yeti that I've got it, and I can actually say to him, Yeti, I've got this, and he'll go back to his bowl. So what I want you to notice in watching this is that nobody ever gets in trouble. Yeti doesn't get scolded. They get redirected. They get redirected very softly. My voice is soft. My energy is slow, because what I want from them is soft and slow. So that's what I need to give them. So it's gentle and it's easy. So I'm going to walk away from the camera a bit, so you may not be able to hear everything that I say, but just know that a lot of it is almost a whisper to them, and watch how the dogs respond. And I don't know how to work with my dogs without gesturing, so you'll be able to figure out what's happening because of my hands moving around. So the location of food bowls is super important, and these bowls are right there. Now, that is the water trough. They're not by the water trough. This is the gate to come into this field. They're not by the gate. This is one of the barns, not by the barn. Down on the other side of the barn are the donkeys that live in this pasture. And I often take advantage of positioning my livestock so that they will not worry my dogs when I feed them. So oftentimes, like with these guys, I feed them their alfalfa, and then I come up here and I feed the dogs, and they're distracted enough by their score of alfalfa that they leave the dogs alone, but I stick around and watch that most of the time. So there's my bowls. Hopefully this will work, and I'm going to go and feed the dogs. And so watch the body language of the dogs. Yeti is sleeping right now. Watch how he starts to bounce all around. Watch Blush. She's interesting. We'll see what happens here. Would you like some dinner, Yeti man? Hi. Are you hungry? Hi. Some dinner? Hello, man. Hi. Come on, big dog. Hi, Blush. That's a good boy. Yeah, I know it. This is your bowl, huh? I know I see it. This is your bowl, huh? Here you go. Good boy. Hi, Blush. Want some dinner? Go back. Go eat. Nope. Nope. Go eat. Good. Go eat. Go eat. Good. Good boy, Yeti. Go eat your dinner. Go eat. Nope. Go eat. Go eat. Oh, good. That's it. That's a good boy. No. No. Go eat your dinner. Go on. No. Go. Good. Good. That's a good boy. That's very nice. Yeah, eat your dinner. No, go back and eat. Good. That's a good dog, Yeti man. Good boy. You're fine. That is a good boy, Yeti. Good job. That is a good boy. So notice that he's agreed to lie down here, but look at his respiratory rate. He hasn't taken a bite yet. He's looking around. Blush over there is faking us out. She's got her back to me, but she's away from her bowl, so she's just going to guard it and watch it and wait for somebody to unsuspectingly walk over by it. She often waits until Yeti's finished eating before eating hers. That usually works out okay for them, but if she were to get up and walk around back and forth and worry him, then I would go stand out there with him. Once Yeti's down like that, he usually stays, and she looks pretty quiet, so it looks like tonight's going to be an easy night. They're never difficult. It's just my job to make sure that when I put those food bowls down, everybody gets to relax and enjoy their dinner. It's important to me that they have that quality of life. And these two dogs are the trickiest ones on the property in terms of subtleties anyway. There's one male dog that likes to pick fights, and I think that he'd be nasty to his partner if I allowed it, and I just don't. I just am around, and then everything's fine. But the point of training about feeding is to prevent resource guarding, and I can tell you that my time spent like this is way, way, way better an investment of time than trying to retrain a dog that has learned to be worried about food beyond what Yeti is in his own skin. Yeti is a 3-year-old dog now. Used to be a whole lot harder for him. He's gotten a bunch better. You are a lovely man, Yeti dog.